Welcome to the Carolina Digital Phone Learning Center podcast, where we explore the essential tools and trends shaping businesses of all sizes. In each episode, we discuss the latest technologies and information designed to help you build and grow your business effectively. Today, we'll take a deep dive into everything you need to know before you enter the world of digital phone services. So let's get started.
Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at something that's become a pretty essential part of our lives: phone calls.
Yeah, but not just any phone calls. We're talking about the evolution of phone calls.
Right. Remember those old rotary phones?
Yeah.
With the rotary dial?
He'd be there forever dialing a number.
Oh, forever.
Yeah.
Well, hold on to your smartphones, folks, because today we're diving into the world of digital phone services.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. And all the amazing things they can do. Now, I bet you didn't know there were so many cool features that come with these.
It's really changed the game. I mean, it's pretty incredible how far we've come from those clunky old landlines, right? You know, with the tangled cords everywhere.
Yeah.
We've gone from these analog signals traveling over copper wires to digital packets of information zipping across the internet at like the speed of light.
Right. It's crazy how it works when you think about it.
It is.
So let's break it down. What exactly is a digital phone service?
Yeah, good question.
And what's all this buzz about VoIP?
The real magic is in what it stands for. It's Voice over Internet Protocol.
Okay.
So basically, it's all about converting your voice into digital data and then sending it over the internet. And then on the other end, it gets converted back into sound.
Oh, so instead of telephone poles and wires, our voices are basically hitching a ride on the information superhighway.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
That's cool.
And that's really what opens up this whole world of possibilities that we're talking about.
Makes sense. So, remember how expensive international calls used to be on landlines?
Oh.
Does this, bypass all that?
Well, yeah. That's one of the biggest perks. Digital phone services often use the internet for these calls, so you're bypassing those traditional phone networks.
Okay.
And that can save you a ton of money.
That's amazing. See, I'm already sold. But, it's got to be more than just about saving money, right?
It's way more.
What else makes these digital services so special?
Well, think about this. They come packed with all these amazing features that, honestly, landlines can only dream of.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Okay, how about crystal clear conversations?
Ooh.
With something called HD voice technology. You can make calls that make you feel like you're practically in the same room. And the best part, you can manage all your calls from anywhere. Literally anywhere you have an internet connection.
Wow, that's like having a whole communication command center right in your pocket.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Okay, wait, back up. HD voice.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
So HD voice uses a wider range of sound frequencies compared to those old traditional calls.
Oh, okay.
So basically it captures more of the nuances in your voice, and it just sounds, richer and clearer,
Yeah.
Kind of like listening to music on a really fancy speaker system versus a tiny little transistor radio. It's that much of a difference.
I get it. Wow, okay, I can definitely see why people are ditching their landlines now.
Right.
So it sounds like it's not just about making calls anymore.
It's not.
It's like a whole communication experience. What are some of the other cool features that we just can't live without?
Well, flexibility is a big one.
Okay, yeah.
You can actually use the same phone number across all your devices. So your smartphone, your computer, even a desk phone if you want to keep it old school.
And so, you're not tied to one device anymore.
Exactly.
The number's part of your digital identity.
Yeah, it's so convenient.
That is cool.
And then, there's call forwarding, so you never miss a call no matter where you are.
Oh, right.
Voicemail to email, which, lets you check your messages from anywhere. And, of course, video calls.
Oh, yeah, I can't forget about those.
Yeah.
Video calls have been a lifesaver.
I know, right?
It's like having a window into someone's world, even when they're miles away.
It's true. And for businesses, integrating digital phone services with other tools is huge.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. What does that look like?
Well, imagine connecting your phone service with, your email, your calendar, even your customer relationship management system.
Whoa.
It streamlines your workflow. It boosts your productivity. You're always in the loop.
Right, so it's not just making calls. It's like weaving communication into your entire digital life.
Exactly.
That's amazing. But hold on a sec. With all this digital data flying around, we got to talk about security, right? What are the risks here, and how are these providers keeping our conversations safe?
That's a really important question. And you're right, whenever we're talking about sending information over the internet, security has to be a top priority.
Yeah.
So some of the things to be aware of: Eavesdropping is a possibility, and then there are things like man-in-the-middle attacks, where someone tries to intercept your conversation.
Oh, wow.
And of course, we can't forget about those pesky denial-of-service attacks that can disrupt the whole service.
Okay, so yeah, that does sound a little scary. So how do we protect ourselves? Like, are these services really secure enough for, like, sensitive conversations?
Well, the good news is that, reputable providers are constantly working to make their security measures stronger.
Okay, good.
One of the biggest ones is encryption, specifically end-to-end encryption.
What is that?
Basically, it scrambles your conversations in a way that only the person on the other end can unscramble them.
Oh, so it's like having a secret code that only you and the person you're talking to know.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good.
But there's more. They also have these things called firewalls and intrusion prevention systems to block any malicious activity. Regular software updates are crucial to fix any vulnerabilities that, might pop up.
Right.
And then there's two-factor authentication,
Oh, okay.
which adds an extra layer of protection to your account.
So it's like having a high security system, but for your phone calls. That is good to know. So it sounds like providers are taking security very seriously. But with so many digital phone services out there, how do you even begin to choose the right one? I mean, it's overwhelming.
It can be, yeah. But choosing the right provider really comes down to understanding your needs and doing a little research.
Okay.
So think about how many calls you make, what features are absolutely essential for you, and of course, what's your budget?
Makes sense. So like figuring out what you need before you go shopping.
Exactly. And once you have that figured out, then you can start comparing different providers. Look at their reputation, their plans, and their customer support. You want a company that's reliable and easy to work with.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so you've assessed your needs, you've chosen a provider. What's next? Like, how do you actually make the switch? Is it complicated?
It can be a little daunting, but with some planning, it can actually be pretty smooth.
Okay.
First of all, make sure your internet connection is up to the task.
Oh, right, because it all relies on the internet.
It does. So you might need to upgrade your bandwidth to handle the extra load of, voice and video calls.
Okay.
And don't underestimate the importance of training. Everyone who's going to be using the new system needs to know how it works.
So it's like learning a new operating system, but for your communication.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. And once you've got the basics down, it becomes second nature.
Okay, so you've got the training down. What's the next step?
Now it's time to implement the new system.
Okay.
You might want to consider doing a phased rollout.
Okay.
So start with a small group and then gradually expand to the whole team or the whole organization.
Okay.
And testing. Make sure everything is working as expected before you go live.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Always better to catch those glitches early on. So you've made the switch, you're enjoying those crystal clear calls and all those amazing features. What about managing it all? Like, are there things you need to do after you've transitioned to keep things running smoothly?
Definitely. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's important to establish a way to get feedback from the people using the system so you can address any issues that come up. Stay updated with software updates to get the best performance and security.
Okay.
Every now and then, you should review your service plan just to make sure it's still meeting your needs.
So it's like a continuous process of improvement and adaptation.
Exactly. It's not just about making the switch, it's about making the most of it.
This has been a really insightful look at the world of digital phone services. We've explored the technology, the benefits, the challenges, and even the process of making the switch. But before we wrap things up for today, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, the future of digital communication. What trends and innovations are you most excited about in this space?
One thing that I find really fascinating is the potential for even more seamless integration between communication and other aspects of our digital lives.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Like, imagine a world where your phone calls are automatically transcribed and added to your to-do list. Or where you can instantly share documents and collaborate on projects during a video conference.
Whoa, okay, that does sound pretty futuristic and pretty awesome. What about artificial intelligence? How do you see AI shaping the future of how we communicate?
Oh, AI is already making a huge impact.
Yep.
We're seeing things like AI-powered virtual assistants that can handle, basic call routing and scheduling.
Okay.
And I think we'll see even more sophisticated applications in the future.
So like AI could personalize our communication experiences even further.
Exactly. It could anticipate our needs, help us overcome language barriers. It's really incredible.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And what about 5G networks? Everyone's talking about 5G. How will that affect digital phone services?
Well, 5G is a total game changer. We're talking about lightning-fast speeds and practically zero lag, which opens up a whole new world of possibilities for real-time communication. Think holographic video calls that feel like you're actually in the same room with someone, or augmented reality experiences that blend the physical and digital worlds seamlessly.
It sounds like science fiction is becoming reality.
It really is.
It's an incredibly exciting time to be alive and witnessing this digital revolution. But for now, let's take a step back and focus on something a bit more practical. How to make the leap from traditional to digital phone services. What advice would you give to someone who's considering making the switch?
I think the most important thing is to be strategic about it. First, take a good, hard look at your current communication needs.
Okay, so like an audit of your phone habits.
Exactly. How many calls do you make? What features are absolute must-haves for you? And of course, what's your budget? It's like taking inventory before you go shopping.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Once you know what you need, what's next?
Then, it's time to do your research and start comparing different providers.
Okay.
Look at their reputation, their plans, and pay close attention to their customer support.
Yeah, customer support is key, especially when you're dealing with something as essential as communication.
Absolutely. And before you make the switch, make sure your internet connection is ready to handle the increased demand. You might need to upgrade your bandwidth or consider a dedicated internet line just for your phone service.
So no more buffering in the middle of important calls.
Exactly. And finally, don't underestimate the importance of training. Make sure everyone who's going to be using the new system knows how it works. A smooth transition depends on everyone being on the same page.
It's like learning a new language. Well, more like a new operating system for your communications.
Yeah.
Once you've got the basics down, communication becomes so much easier. So,
First, establish a way to get feedback from users so you can address any issues. Second, stay up to date with the latest software updates. And third, periodically review your service plan just to make sure it's still meeting your needs.
so it's a continuous process of improvement and adaptation even after you make the switch.
Precisely. It's not just about making the switch, it's about making the most of it.
I love that. Well, this has been an incredible journey into the world of digital phone services. We've talked about the technology, the benefits, the challenges, and even a glimpse into what the future holds for communication. But before we move on, I want to go back to something you said earlier. The importance of remembering the human element in this increasingly digital age. How can we use digital phone services to enhance our connections with others instead of letting technology become a barrier?
That's such an important question. It's so easy to get caught up in all the bells and whistles of technology, but we have to remember that communication is all about connecting with other people. Digital phone services are just tools to help us do that, not replace those connections.
Absolutely. So how can we use these tools thoughtfully and intentionally to nurture our relationships?
Well, first of all, be mindful of your communication habits. Just because you can reach someone instantly doesn't mean you should. Respect boundaries and be considerate of other people's time.
That's a great reminder. It's about using technology to enhance our connections, not create unnecessary stress. What other advice would you give?
Make an effort to truly connect with the person on the other end of the line. Listen attentively, engage in meaningful conversations, and avoid distractions. Even if you're not physically together, you can still create a sense of intimacy and connection.
That's so true. It's about being present and engaged, even in a digital space. What about using these tools to connect with people we might not otherwise be able to reach?
That's one of the most amazing things about digital phone services. They allow us to connect with people across geographical boundaries, time zones, and even language barriers. We can stay in touch with loved ones far away, collaborate with colleagues across continents, and even meet new people who share our interests.
It's incredible how technology is breaking down barriers and expanding our social circle. But for folks out there who are still using landlines, making the switch to a digital phone service can seem like a big leap. What advice would you give to someone who's hesitant to make that change?
Well, I'd say the first step is recognizing that landlines just can't keep up with the way we live and work today. They're tied to one location, they don't have those cool features we've been talking about, and they can be surprisingly expensive, especially for international calls.
Yeah, it's like comparing a horse and buggy to a bullet train.
Exactly. Digital phone services offer so much more in terms of flammability, affordability, and all those amazing features.
Okay, but even if you're convinced that digital is the way to go, how do you choose from all the different providers out there? It could feel really overwhelming.
Absolutely. There are so many options, but don't let that intimidate you. The key is to focus on your specific needs and what's important to you.
Okay, so how do you do that?
We'll start by thinking about things like how many calls you make, what features you absolutely need, and of course, your budget. Do you make a lot of international calls? Is video conferencing important for your work? Do you need it to integrate with other business tools you use?
So basically, you're creating a wish list for your phone service.
Exactly. Once you have a clear picture of what you're looking for, then you can start narrowing down the choices.
That makes sense. Are there any resources out there that can help with that process?
Definitely. There are websites and guides that compare different providers side by side. You can read customer reviews to see what real people are saying. And don't be afraid to reach out to the providers directly and ask questions.
So it's like having a personal shopper for your phone service. All right, let's say you've chosen a provider. What happens next? How do you actually make the switch? Is it as simple as just plugging in a new phone?
Well, it can be a bit more involved than that, but it's definitely manageable. The first thing you need to do is make sure your internet connection is strong enough to handle voice and video calls.
Right, because it all relies on a good internet connection.
Exactly. You might need to upgrade your internet plan or even consider a dedicated line just for your phone service.
So no more choppy calls or frozen video.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to hardware, it really depends on the specific service you choose. Some providers offer what's called a virtual phone system,
Okay.
which means everything runs through software. So you can use your existing computer and smartphone without needing any special equipment.
So there are options for everyone, whether you want to go all digital or use some of your existing equipment.
Exactly.
But what about the learning curve? Do you need a degree in computer science to figure out these new phone systems?
Not at all. Most digital phone services are designed to be user-friendly. They have intuitive interfaces and mobile apps that make it easy to manage your calls and settings. And if you do run into any problems, most providers have great customer support to help you out.
Okay, good. So it sounds like the transition doesn't have to be a nightmare.
Not at all. But I know that even when something is better, change can be scary. What are some of the things that people worry about when they're thinking about switching to a digital phone service?
That's a good question. I think one of the biggest concerns is reliability.
Absolutely. People are used to landlines being super dependable. They rarely go down except in extreme situations.
Right.
But with digital phone services, the quality and reliability of your calls are tied to your internet connection. If your internet goes down, so does your phone service.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. So how do you minimize that risk?
The most important thing is to choose a reliable internet provider and make sure your connection is strong. You might also consider having a backup internet option, like a mobile hotspot, just in case your main connection goes down.
That's a smart move. What about call quality? Is it as good as a traditional landline?
Call quality with digital phone services has improved a lot, especially with HD voice technology.
Right, we talked about that.
But it can still be affected by things like your internet bandwidth, network congestion, and even the quality of the equipment you're using.
So it's important to do your research and pick a provider that's known for good call quality. What other concerns do people have?
Security and privacy are always top of mind. So it's really important to choose a provider that takes security seriously and uses strong measures to protect your calls and your data.
Okay, so what should people look for?
Look for things like end-to-end encryption, strong firewalls, and two-factor authentication.
Are digital phone services actually cheaper than traditional landlines?
In most cases, yes.
Right.
Digital phone services usually have lower monthly fees, and many offer unlimited calling plans, even for international calls. But it's important to compare plans carefully and make sure there aren't any hidden fees.
So read the fine print.
Always.
Okay, so let's talk about the actual transition. How disruptive is it to switch over to a digital phone service?
If you plan ahead and do your homework, the transition can be pretty painless. Many providers will help you transfer your existing phone number, set up your equipment, and even train your team. And once you've made the switch, you'll be able to enjoy all the benefits of a modern, flexible communication system.
It sounds like a worthwhile upgrade.
Yeah.
But let's be real, no technology is perfect.
What are some of the drawbacks or challenges that people might encounter with digital phone services? What other potential downsides are there?
Well, because it relies on the internet, if your internet service is unreliable, it will affect your calls.
Right.
You might have dropped calls, delays, or poor sound quality.
Absolutely. And all those fancy features can be a bit overwhelming for some people at first.
I can see that. It's like learning a new gadget.
Exactly. But most providers offer tutorials and good customer support to help you get up to speed.
Okay, so once you get over the initial learning curve, it's smooth sailing.
Pretty much. And the benefits are definitely worth it. But before we move on, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier. The importance of remembering the human element in all of this. Digital phone services are just tools to help us do that, not to replace those connections.
I love that. So how can we use these tools thoughtfully to actually improve our relationships?
Be mindful of your communication habits. Just because you can reach someone instantly doesn't mean you should be calling or texting them all the time. Respect boundaries and be considerate of people's time.
It's about using technology to connect in a positive way, not to add stress to people's lives.
Right. And when you are talking to someone, try to really be present in the conversation. Listen carefully, engage with what they're saying, and avoid distractions. Even though you might not be physically in the same room, you can still create a genuine connection.
So it's about being present and engaged, even in a digital space.
Yeah.
What else can we do to foster those meaningful connections?
Use video calls whenever you can. Seeing someone's face and body language can really enrich the conversation and make you feel more connected.
Like a window into their world. What about using digital phone services to connect with people you wouldn't normally be able to reach?
That's one of the most powerful things about this technology. It lets us connect with people across geographical boundaries, time zones, and even language barriers.
That's amazing. We can stay in touch with loved ones who live far away, work with colleagues on different continents, even connect with new people who share our interests.
It's really incredible how technology is breaking down those barriers. But it's important to use these tools responsibly and ethically.
Absolutely. What should we keep in mind as we navigate this digital world?
Be aware of the potential risks and challenges, and use these tools in a way that is safe, respectful, and responsible. Protect your privacy, be mindful of what you share online, and be cautious of scams.
Those were all really important things to remember. It's about using technology for good, to connect with others, learn, grow, and create a better digital world.
Exactly.
You know, it's pretty amazing how much digital phone services have changed the way we communicate. I mean, we've come a long way from those old clunky landlines, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's incredible how seamlessly these services have become part of our daily lives. Crystal clear calls, video chats, integration with all our other digital tools. It's a whole new world.
It really is.
Yeah.
But it makes you think, right? Just because we have all this amazing technology and we're constantly connected, does that mean we should be connected all the time?
That's a great point. It's about finding that balance, isn't it? Using technology to enhance our lives, not to let it take over.
Exactly. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into digital phone services, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. We've covered a lot of ground, the history of communication technology, the pros and cons of these digital services, and even what the future might hold. But at the end of the day, it's up to each of us to decide how we want to use these tools.
I agree. Technology is a powerful force, and we have a responsibility to use it wisely. Let's use these tools to create positive change, to connect with people, to build understanding, to make the world a better place.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been an absolute pleasure exploring this topic with you and with all our listeners out there. We hope you've learned a thing or two about digital phone services and that you feel empowered to make the best choices for your own communication needs.
We've only scratched the surface, really. There's so much more to discover in this ever-evolving world of communication technology.
Absolutely. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep those conversations going. And to all our listeners, what are your thoughts on the future of digital communication? What are you excited about? What are your concerns? Share your insights, your experiences, and your vision for a more connected world. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep those digital conversations flowing.
Thanks for joining us on the Carolina Digital Phone Learning Center podcast. We're eager to hear from you. Whether you have questions about today's topic, suggestions for future discussions, or just want to chat about technology and business, we're here to help. Reach out by emailing inquiry@carolinadigitalphone.com, calling us at 336-544-4000, or clicking the Get Started link at carolinadigitalphone.com. We look forward to talking with you.